You can't get rid of me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
Minnesota was promised to the Somalis 3,000 years ago, and I got proof. In this video alone, I'm going to show you the evidence as to why Minnesota is the native land. So as we should all know by now, some of the first early settlers of Minnesota were actually Somali explorers. They came to Minnesota and actually set up one of the first early civilizations. And as you can see here, this is a picture of the Somali founding fathers of Minnesota. Even this guy here, he's still Somali, he's just half Yemeni. And as well, we can quite clearly see the Somali flag waving in the background. And as you can see from the old Minnesota flag, it is very, very similar to the Somali flag. They got similar color schemes, they just covered the star up. But in the year 2024, they actually changed the Minnesota flag to resemble more of a Somali flag. Reason being, they were scared of losing the history and the culture of Minnesota. And the new flag was actually designed by a non-Somali called Andrew Pekuri. However, that being said, this man most likely does have Somali ancestry, because as we know, some of the most famous Minnesotans ever actually do seem to have a mix of Somali admixture within their DNA, which actually isn't too far-fetched considering the fact that they've been here for so long, and that was promised to them 3,000 years ago. And if you disagree, then you're anti-Cushitic.
People are talking about two-state solutions, like Somalis get one half and the Americans get the other. What? Let's be real about this. There is no two-state solutions. There's only one land, one people, Somalis. Minnesota is and has always been Somali territory. I don't know why this is confusing anyone. It literally says in every holy book, the Bible, the Torah, and in the book of Adar, and as well as in the book of Hoyo, it clearly states out, "Thou shalt guide the people of Somalis unto the land of Minnesota, where the snow shall test them, and the mall of America shall sustain them." We do not accept and tolerate this kind of solution being presented. The Americans settling in Minnesota was a historical mistake.
You need to leave.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the way Somalis are mocking the US and their racism. Also, they're mocking Zionism by saying that Minnesota was promised them 3,000 years ago. And I'm like, that's hilarious. Also, the conservatives would probably take this seriously. And I think they already did. I'm pretty sure I saw a post the other day that I didn't understand. I didn't know what was going on. And it said that the Somalis are invading Minnesota. And I'm like, what? I just skipped past it because I skip past things that are ridiculous, right? But now I get it. Now I get it. Like, they're posting videos saying things like that, or talking about how they were promised Minnesota, and I'm like, that's hilarious. Yeah, I guess fight fire with fire. Like, try and prove just how ridiculous Zionism sounds from an outside perspective. And I guess it's 12 o'clock.
And for the record, this little so-called joke the Somalians are running around social media with isn't funny. Only agents of chaos go around social media making claims about history, inventing events, or fake facts, then calling it satire, saying it's purely humor. Nah, it's not just a joke. The danger is satire can easily be mistaken for truth, especially when it spreads quickly and appears repeatedly across different platforms. And we're living in a time where people can't tell what's real between the truth and a lie. When false statements are repeated often enough, they start to feel familiar. And that constant lie can be misread as accuracy. And I can't get down with that because it's these so-called jokes or fake propaganda that was used to destroy my ancestors on our land that's caused our American history to be rewritten several times, and even now allow other groups to come in from other countries and claim a right to it. This is more than just a side effect of online culture. It's a real tactic used by individuals and groups who want to shape public opinion. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. By disguising misinformation as harmless jokes, they normalize false ideas until some people begin to believe them. Then over time, what started as, quote, just a joke, can distort how people understand history, influencing beliefs and decisions in ways that are hard to reverse. So yes, satire has its place, but when it blurs the lines between humor and misinformation, it's harmful. The craziest part about this so-called joke is it's not even funny. I don't care who they're trying to troll, it's just not funny. These people will be more comical if they just sit in silence and focus the camera on that big old forehead. No, I'm sorry, this can't be considered a good joke if it's not even funny in the first place.
The Minnesota Somalis are not taking it lying down. After Donald Trump gave a press conference in which he said that the Somali people in Minnesota were garbage and they needed to go back to their garbage country, they took to social media. Somalis took to social media to clap back at Donald Trump. They say that they are going nowhere, and what many of them are saying is that Minnesota actually belongs to the Somalis because they say Minnesota was given to them by the Somali god 5,000 years ago and they are going nowhere. This is a really interesting development because they're almost daring Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump obviously is he's not showing leadership at all because there are rules and orders. But the thing is, they are on social media, they are backlapping at him, and they are saying that basically they've got nowhere to go because that is their land, and they are saying, many of them, that their God gave them the land of Minnesota.
A lot of white nationalists are really upset about Somali immigration to Minnesota for some reason. But the thing is, Minnesota is the homeland of the Somali people, and it was promised to us 3,000 years ago. In fact, one of the founding documents of the state of Minnesota is literally codifying into law that Somali people have self-determination on that land. As it states very plainly in the basic law in Minnesota, the land of Minnesota is the historical homeland of the Somali people, in which the state of Minnesota was established. The state of Minnesota is the home of the Somali people, in which it fulfills its natural, cultural, religious, and historical right to self-determination. The right to exercise self-determination in the state of Minnesota is unique to the Somali people. The state views the development of Somali settlement as a national value and will act to encourage and promote its establishment and consolidation. So that's the end of the debate. The only people who have the right to self-determination in Minnesota are Somalis. Somalis have a cultural tie to the land. It was promised to us 3,000 years ago, and we have the right to go back to our homeland. If anybody wants to help me pay for Aliyah to my homeland, please help me out.
70,000, 80,000 Somalis sent to Minnesota so they could vote in Ilhan Omar.
Why are you lying for no reason? Those 80k people that you're talking about, they're just doing birthright visit for the Holy Land, the promised land of Minnesota. Those 80k you're talking about are just doing birthright visit. I don't know what you're trying to say. You know, this land was promised to them. This land is a holy land for the Somalis. According to Matthew 6:7, it literally says it's obligatory for every Somali to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota and touch the holy walls. Look at this. Look at this picture. This picture is the holy walls of Minneapolis. Every Somali has to go there and touch it for them to go to their paradise. Blessed are Somalis, for I have chosen them. Verse 42. I'm telling you right now, I don't know what you're trying to push. You know, you man can hate on the Somalis, but at the end of the day, this land was promised for them. Just
come here. Shut your stupid ass up.
So we all know how Tim Waltz up there in Minnesota, Stan, is just giving everything away to all of those Somali people. But I did my own research on this one, and I have learned that George Washington himself, through his wife, when his wife designed our very flag, had actually long promised and given away our land. Look at that. There's stars, and then there's other stars, and then there's blue. Now, Prince didn't grow up in Minnesota and bathe himself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka just to make sure that those same waters were just going to be given away to an entire group of people. And now they're sitting here and they're trying to claim that Minnesota was promised to them 3,000 years ago. This is a very serious claim they're making, and everybody should be very outraged about this.
So you have some people coming in saying it's all a joke. Again, if you keep hearing people say God promises land to the Somali people, if you allow them to say it long enough, folks will start to believe it's true. You have a bunch of different groups in America running around lying about what's supposed to be theirs and what they, quote, built that they didn't build, just spreading these lies and repeating it over and over. And now you have other people believing it. Honestly, the entitlement is already deeply embedded into these people too. It's only been about 20, 30 years. Can you imagine what they'll tell the children 100 years from now? Yeah, this is a very dangerous lie. And then they're trying to make up jokes instead of addressing all that fraud, the money they stole from American taxpayers. We're talking about billion-dollar fraud here.
Why is everybody ignoring the billion-dollar fraud that's happening in Minnesota, but worrying about the Somali community? I'm going to break it down of all what the fraud was into. Basically, the Somali community mostly was submitting fake document paperwork saying that their children were autistic.
Minnesota is reeling from a fraud scandal involving $1 billion siphoned from multiple federal programs during the COVID pandemic. In the past 3 years, 87 people have been charged, 61 convicted, most of Somali descent. Erica MacDonald was U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota during the first Trump administration.
What happened in Minnesota where fraud was able to run rampant that it didn't in other states?
Lack of accountability, frankly. We knew that fraud occurs, and there's warning signs that come with it, and they were ignored in this case.
According to investigators, the schemes involved bogus receipts and invoices for meal programs, housing assistance, and behavioral health services, charging the state millions for services that were never provided.
I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars.
The president lashed out at Minnesota's Somali community during Tuesday's cabinet meeting at the White House, saying he doesn't want them in the country and called them garbage.
I think it's a beautiful country.
Jamal Osman, who moved from Somalia to Minnesota when he was 14, is a naturalized U.S. citizen and a member of the Minneapolis City Council.
Anyone who looks like me are scared right now.
The fear comes as the Somali community here is bracing for a surge of ICE agents cracking down on migrants who've been issued final deportation orders.
The president is pointing to the fraud cases in Minnesota, and we know that a majority of the suspects are of Somali descent. How is your community taking that?
Well, my community is upset. Yes, people commit crimes, but the entire community should not be blamed based on what some individuals did.
At the end of the day, coming over here committing fraud is not all right. There's a lot going on there. We're talking about multiple federal programs. And when whistleblowers try to tell state officials like the governor and other state authorities, they basically punish the whistleblowers for exposing these scammers. Some of the scammers were issued orders to leave the country before, years and years ago, and even scammed other countries too, like Canada. This is absolutely unacceptable. If Keisha stole $2,000 on food stamps or $20,000, she's going to be held accountable and nobody's going to defend her. But when these people that came from another country scam Americans out of hundreds of millions of dollars, lying, talking about they're feeding their poor people, you have organizations and politicians trying to defend their behavior. I can't. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell me what you think about this below. Shout out to Willie. Thank you, Willie. I appreciate you for your support for the channel. You can show your support as well. The link to PayPal is below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.